Well, I'm going to attempt to videotape me making sauerkraut for those who would like to know how. Let's see if I can find a stationary place for my camera to sit. This might work. Okay, you can see here, this is a mandolin, and I've already started shredding. I've added, you can use a big bowl, preferably stainless steel or crockware. Now inside here, you'll see I have some grated carrots and shredded lettuce so far, okay? And you can use a food processor to do the carrots. Works just as good. You want to make sure your workspace is clean. So you cut your cabbage into quarters like this. After you've peeled off the first top layers, those have sediment and other things on them. So you want to make sure your cabbage is clean. Give it a good rinse, dry it off really good. And then you just carefully run it across your mandolin. We can do this like so. And you see how it's giving you a nice even texture. And what you have left over, put in a pile because we'll use a knife to chop it up. And you just stick that in the bowl. Now this was 2 small heads of cabbage that I'm using. And we're just grating. If you have cats, by the way, you might want to put them in a separate room while you're doing this to keep your workspace clean. Because if your cats are like my cats, they want to be included in everything and they feel like they're helping. I can't stress the importance of being careful when you're using one of these. It is very crucial to pay attention. So you want to make kraut at a time when you're not going to be disturbed. Again, what's left over, we put it aside. Getting too close to the blade now, so we want to use a knife and save our fingers. Carefully clean that out of the mandolin. And we can just take the leftover and we can finally chop it. Again, watch your fingers. Try to get it as fine and uniform as possible. It's not a mandatory thing, but the smaller the cut, then the better the brine making process. You can go the opposite direction. Just take if you've got a rocker knife, you can just kind of rock it back and forth. Scoop your cabbage up, kind of give it a little fold there, and then go across it a couple more times. And voila, there we have it. And then you can add your favorite spices. Now I'm making a dill fennel with dulse kraut. I will be adding dill seed and some fennel and dulse. This is seaweed. It's very nutritious, very delicious, and it's packed full of good things. It has, well, let's see, serving size is 1/3 cup. In 1/3 cup, you get 550 milligrams of potassium. You get 2 grams of fiber, 2 grams of protein. You get 15% iron, 780% iodine, 8% riboflavin, 30% B6, 8% B12, 4% magnesium, 2% phosphorus, and 8% chromium. Now, when you make a kraut and you do this with this and you're fermenting your vegetables, it magnifies the vitamin content. So in the cabbage, it's full of vitamin C already, but now it's going to be magnified even more. So I'm going to go over here and rinse my hands real quick and dry them. And we're going to get a tablespoon, clean towel, make sure that's dry. You'll want to use pink Himalayan sea salt. Okay. Dill seed. All organic, by the way. A little bit of dill weed. Might even throw in a pinch of garlic. Fresh is usually best. And then fennel. Now what I'm going to do with the dill and the fennel is I'm going to put probably about a tablespoon each, and we are going to grind it up in a mortar and pestle. We're going to break open those seeds so we can release the fragrant aroma and the taste, the flavor of those seeds. Like so. And we'll just sprinkle that in the mix. And then we'll do the same thing with the fennel. Get a good spoonful there. This is going to be delicious. And it'll only take 3 days. At the end of 3 days, it will be ready to taste and see if we want to set it any longer or we want to go ahead and refrigerate it and start eating it. Voila. Smelling good already. Now, garlic, just a teeny bit. A little bit will go a long way with this stuff. Just a teeny bit more. And I had some dill weed. Well, we'll use there's only a little bit left in there, if you can see. So I'm going to use all of that. Time to go buy more weed. Dill, that is. Okay. Let's put these back on the shelf. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take about a tablespoon of salt. I'm going to do 1.5 because I have a full bowl. So 1.5 tablespoons of salt. See, my bowl is full. And that's that for that. Now I'm going to move this out of the way. And what we're going to do is we're going to knead this in. We're going to just fold it. And as you're doing that, it's like you're tossing a salad. You want to squeeze. When you squeeze, that helps the salt bring the liquid out of the cabbage and the carrots, and it helps to create a brine. Now, the carrot is what's going to feed the good bacteria, and that's what helps make your brine. I'm also going to add, actually, let me do that while I'm thinking about it. A little bit of starter from a former jar of kraut that was from Bubby's, a well-respected, well-known company. Let me just, that's about a tablespoon or two. Now, since I've already touched the jar, I gotta wash hands again. Gotta keep your hands clean. Get the excess water off with a clean towel, of course. And again, we will start massaging the kraut. See that? It's already happening. You can see that liquid dropping now. That didn't take long, did it? And what we're going to do, we're just going to get this mixed through really good so that we make sure that all of the kraut is covered. And then I will add my seaweed, and we'll cover the bowl for, about 30 minutes. And see if we can keep this thing standing up. Look at that. And feel free to taste it to see if it has the right flavor that you want. Right now, it's good. I probably could have got away with 1 tablespoon of salt, but that's good. Look at that. Look at all that liquid. And that's what we want. And if you don't get that right away, sometimes leaving it sit for 30 minutes will help it to develop. I like leaving it sit for that long so it can really pull the liquid out. And I get more of a brine, so when I go to put it in a jar, and if you get a jar, get the jars that like Bubby's has. You can actually fill it up. You don't have to put a leaf on top of it or anything. You just fill the jar up full. Make sure that there's brine covering the top of it and close the lid. Well, there we go. So I guess that is basically what you need to know for right now on how to get your kraut started. Excuse me, one moment. Okay, we will find a better way to do this next time. So, next, what you want to do is just cover that and let it sit for a bit. For about 30 minutes. We can set a timer. And in 30 minutes from now, you can get, if you have ever purchased sauerkraut before, you can use those jars. You can use any glass jar that has, those kind of lids. Because what happens is they already have an airlock system built in, sort of. At least that's what I think. Because it doesn't exactly trap, it keeps the air out, but it also lets it dissipate as well. And what will happen is when you put it in the jars, it's going to bubble overnight. You leave it sit in a fairly cool to warm 65 to 75 degrees. It's good. My kitchen is perfect, and actually my table sits right next to the furnace. So autumn is the best time to do kraut. In the summertime, you risk it going to mold and other things. So this is the perfect time to do your kraut. And when you put it in the jar, then you just make sure you put a tray underneath of it, because what's going to happen is the carbon dioxide is going to start pushing the liquid up and out, and it will start leaking. And that's what I mean by these jars. It'll allow the liquid to seep out. It won't let the air in. There's a saying, under brine, all is fine. So as long as your kraut's under brine, you're fine. And these jars are perfect for that. It lets that liquid seep out, that CO2 that's making it, forcing it to expand. It lets it out and keeps airlocked. At the same time, keeps your environment perfect for fermenting. And after 3 days, you check it every day. You can loosen your lid a little bit if you feel like it needs to let some air out, especially if it's bubbling a lot. And you'll see bubbles coming up through it. And when it starts doing that, you know it's working. You know that you're actually getting a good ferment. And that's basically the basics of making home fermented sauerkraut. Have fun!